You can't heal from narcissistic abuse if you don't break the trauma bond. As long as that bond exists, part of you will be fighting 24/7 to stay connected to them. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 8 steps you must take to break that bond. But that's not all, because this is just the first episode in a 2-part series. In the next episode, I'm going to share the strategies people we've worked with have used to move through each of these 8 steps. Meaning, this series will teach you what to do, how to do it, and give you all the information you need to start breaking the trauma bond with your narcissistic ex. If we are just meeting, my name is Juliana. I'm a founder of Unfilteredd, and we help you overcome the effects of narcissistic abuse so you can heal and move forward with your life. But before we get started, it's important to know there's no particular order to these steps. They're all connected and more or less happen at the same time. That said, the first step is killing the fantasy. This means recognizing that the relationship was not what you hoped or believed it could be, and intentionally letting go of the idea that it could ever become healthy or safe. This is important because that fantasy is one of the core psychological forces keeping the trauma bond intact. As long as that hope or belief is still there, your brain will continue to rationalize, justify, minimize, and even normalize the abuse. This blinds you to the reality of what's happening and keeps you emotionally invested, because in your mind, there's still a chance the relationship could work. The second step is detoxing. This means cutting down how much you see, hear about, or interact with your narcissistic ex and the people who support them as much as possible. It's an important step because trauma-bonded relationships operate like a slot machine. Most of the time, you lose. You get abused, manipulated, or exploited. But every once in a while, you win. Maybe it's a sudden affection, apologies filled with promises to change, or them going out of their way to do something for you. And like a jackpot on a slot machine, those wins feel unbelievably rewarding. So instead of walking out of the casino, you keep playing because you want to get another win. Detoxing is like taking one step away from the machine, and then another, and another, until eventually you're out the door, in your car, and on your way home. It breaks the reward cycle and gives you the clarity you need to see that the game is rigged and designed to ensure that the casino wins in the long run. The third step is processing the trauma. This means actively working through the emotional and psychological effects of narcissistic abuse so that they no longer control how you think, feel, or behave. This step is crucial because unprocessed trauma keeps you mentally and emotionally tied to your narcissistic ex, even when you're physically away from them. It's the reason things like rumination, hypervigilance, and flashbacks are such common experiences for people who've been through narcissistic abuse. Your brain doesn't just get rid of unprocessed trauma, it holds onto it like an unfinished story, searching for meaning, closure, potential threats, or even a different ending. The fourth step is grieving. This means allowing yourself to feel and process the loss of the relationship. Not just the person, but the future you imagined, the love you hoped for, and the version of them you believed in. To understand why this step is so important, think of your narcissistic ex and the relationship you had like a bucket that's full of holes. When you're trauma bonded, you can't see the holes, so you keep pouring more and more water into the bucket, hoping one day it will fill up. But it won't. And grieving helps you see that. It's what allows you to acknowledge and accept that no matter how much energy you pour into your narcissistic ex and the relationship you had, it was never going to work out. And that acceptance is what breaks the trauma bond and sets you free. We have 4 more steps to go through, but I know this can be a lot to take in. So if you're ever feeling stuck or unsure what to do next, you can go to unfiltered.net or click the link in the description to sign up for a free one-on-one session with someone from our team. Helping people overcome the effects of narcissistic abuse so they can heal and move forward with their lives is what we do 24/7, 365. So if you ever need us, we're here. The 5th step is cutting or modifying the unknown. You see, detoxing, the second step, helps you cut or modify the more obvious ties. Things like blocking your ex on social media, distancing yourself from mutual friends, or asking people not to give you updates about them. But some of the strongest ties holding the trauma bond together are the ones you don't even notice. So this fifth step is about asking, what small connections still exist in my day-to-day life? You might notice you still order pizza every Friday night, sleep on your side of the bed, or wear the hoodie their parents gave you. They might seem small, but they're important to cut, or at the very least, modify. Because it's a lot like being stuck in a spider web. Each of these small connections to them is a thread that's still attached to you. The more threads there are, the harder it is to break free. So every time you address one of them, it's like cutting through part of the web. And therefore, the more you cut, the more free you become. The sixth step is rebuilding your identity. This means taking back ownership of who you are, what you believe, and how you choose to live your life. This step is important because when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, your life will start to revolve around keeping them happy. You might change the way you dress, adjust how you speak, or even hide parts of your personality, like your sense of humor or your hobbies, just to avoid conflict. And over time, that role begins to replace who you really are. You lose touch with your thoughts, your feelings, your needs, even your voice, to the point where you can barely recognize yourself when you look in the mirror. If you don't step out of that role, it doesn't matter how much work you do. Part of you will be fighting 24/7, consciously or subconsciously, to stay connected to them. So a huge part of breaking the trauma bond is figuring out who you are or who you want to be without them and taking small steps toward that person every single day. The seventh step is creating a meaningful life. This means intentionally building a life that feels purposeful, fulfilling, and aligned with your deepest values. Now, remember in the previous step, I said that when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, your life starts to revolve around them. Well, the reason creating a meaningful life is so important is because once you start breaking the trauma bond, it leaves behind two kinds of empty spaces. The first space is, who am I without them? That's what rebuilding your identity is meant to fill. The second space is, what do I do now? And that's where creating a meaningful life comes in. If you don't intentionally fill that space with something meaningful, the trauma bond will try to fill it for you because your brain is still wired to look to that relationship for structure and direction. The eighth step is maintenance and relapse prevention. This means learning how to handle the hard moments. Things like cravings to reach out, emotional triggers, trauma symptoms, and unexpected setbacks. It's an important step because breaking a trauma bond isn't a one-time action. It's an ongoing process. Even after you've started healing and building a new life, certain triggers, like rejection after a first date or unexpected contact with your ex, can pull you right back toward the bond. So, maintenance and relapse prevention is really the only way you can protect the progress you've made and ensure the trauma bond stays broken for good. Thank you for watching today's episode of the Unfiltered Narcissistic Partners Podcast. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, this was just the first episode in a 2-part series. In the next episode, I'll share the strategies people we've worked with have used to move through each of the 8 steps we talked about today, so you can do it too. I'll link to it here once it's posted. My name is Juliana, your guide to overcoming the effects of narcissistic abuse, and I can't wait to connect with you in a future episode.